It's a big blow to Bashar Assad, because a lot of the officers and soldiers of the Sunni sect in the army will look up to him, and that's a very big blow. And that's why you see a whole lot of officers are now defecting, you know. And if you look at the names and personalities who've defected so far, they are predominantly Sunni officers, so one should not forget that. And in a way, one can say really that this rebellion against Bashar Assad is a Sunni insurrection against him. You know, in the past, we have had Sunni insurrections in Hama in 1982, like I said before, where, you know, Hafez Assad was reported to have slaughtered over 10,000, you know, people in the city of Hama. Now again, you have another Sunni, you know, led insurrection that is far more deadly and stronger, because you have foreign powers, Turkey and others, supporting them. You know, so it's very significant. His Alawite power base is still intact, because the Alawites are afraid of what's going to happen if, you know, Bashar Assad goes. You know, there might be a slaughter, you know, of them
by the Sunnis.
By the Sunnis, because Sunnis predominate in population, about 80% of the population. Okay, and now also the Christians are also strongly in support of Bashar Assad, not because they love him so much, but because they believe he's the guarantor of a secular state, you know, in Syria, that will allow them to live peacefully and, you know, do their businesses. Unlike Iraq, you saw what happened in Iraq when the Shiites took over power in Iraq. Almost half of the Christians in Iraq fled because of
fear
of fear of what is going to come and what is happening. You know, so the Christians in Syria are very afraid. That's why they support Bashar Assad to stay in power, because of, you know, of their economic well-being, and also because of the secular state. You know, they are afraid that, you know, though Syria might not become an Islamic state, but when the Sunnis take over, there might be revenge against those they feel have supported, you know, Assad family since 1970s. Now, the situation in Bahrain, you know, there's not much to talk about, because that rebellion was snuffed out, you know, in its infancy, when Saudi Arabia sent in troops with the backing of the United States. And one should remember that unlike other rebellions, the one in Bahrain is the majority against a minority regime. The monarchy in Bahrain is a Sunni minority regime governing over, you know, a predominantly Shiite population. And it's not in the interest of the United States and Saudi Arabia for them to take over, for the main reason that will give an opening to Iran to get into Bahrain. And understand that the ruling class in Iran is Shiite. Okay, so it's in their own interest for a Shia regime, you know, to take over in neighboring Bahrain. And that would be a threat to the Sunni government in Saudi Arabia, just across the water. You know? So Saudi Arabia wanted to make sure there's no Shiite government in Bahrain that Iran will use to subvert the Sunni monarchy in Saudi Arabia. And also, it's not in the interest of the United States to have a Shiite regime, you know, in Bahrain. Otherwise, one would say, well, hey, why are we supporting a minority government against the majority, since we say, hey, democracy is the rule of majority? Yeah, but it's not in our economic and political or geopolitical interest to have a Shiite government in Bahrain.
The last 2 minutes, do you think that Iran, in any respect, might be caught up eventually in this whole idea of democracy in the Middle East?
Well, Iran, in a way, practices its own brand of theocratic democracy. You know, there has been elections, you know, in Iran since Ayatollah Khomeini came in power. Elections is not the problem. They've had elections, but the fact is that the elections, you know, are normally, you know, won by the clergy. Okay, that's the problem. It's not a question of democracy.
There goes democracy in reference to that.
That's correct. They have their own theocratic democracy. But the majority of the people now, most of them weren't born when the Ayatollah Khomeini came to power. Want something else. And you already know this is generational. When you have 1 or 2 generations coming, then they say, hey, you know, we are tired of all this. We need some change. So some of these rumblings, in Iran is by the new generation that weren't even born when Ayatollah Khomeini overthrew the Shah, in 1979. You see, so Iran will say, well, we have our own democracy. That's what Ahmadinejad has said. We have elections every 4 years. When Khomeini came in, they had elections. Bani Sadr became president. Then when they overthrew him, Mohammed Ali Raja'i came in. Then you had, Hashemi Rafsanjani as president. He left. Then Hatami came in. And then Ahmadinejad was elected every 4 years.
All after 4 years.
Exactly.
Elections like the United States.
That's correct. That's correct. We've had the elections on time, and people, we are free to vote. But it's a guided democracy.
Very good. And of course, Dr. Madu, let me thank you, and let me also encourage our audience to tune in again next week to another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and good morning.